Jai Guruji, thank you so much. 11th day of our series of satsang, and thank you every one of you for your patience of staying with me all this time. One of the most important thing that I have understood during these years is what we are going to discuss today. One of the reason Guruji made us hear that Shabad, एक तकिया भरोसा तेरे चरना का, बाकी सबे ढाइया ढेरिया, which essentially meant that I only have trust in you and I have demolished every other thought, faith, guru, whatever else from my scope of understanding. I have only you and you that I worship now. And the reason it was played and was ingrained into our mind was to make sure that we choose one. You choose one and then worship. It doesn't matter whom you choose because that's your choice. What matters is that, like Krishna said to Arjuna in Gita, and I quote Gita very often because that to me is the purest form of dialogue between God and someone like us, a human. See, you become who you worship. This is amazing philosophy in one sentence. You become who you worship. And if you worship properly, then you essentially move into the same domain as the entity you decided to worship. And and he said, if you worship me, then you come to me. So he's telling Arjun, you worship one, and whomsoever you worship, you will become him. That means all the virtues of the entity you worship will come into you. You will become that. And if you worship me, you come to me, which means you become me. It's huge. And in some of these Shabad that were played at Mandir, very, very clearly reminded it to us every single time. If you worship more than one, two, three, four, five, then either you become nothing, you get to nowhere, or you become a mix of something without any specific identity. So, and then you get essentially nowhere. You want to go to Bombay, you sit in a train which takes you to Bombay. And if you keep jumping trains, which are moving in different directions to different destination, God, where will you go? Even you won't know. You'll be lost like Alice in the Wonderland. You don't know what's happening to you. You don't know where you're going. So just hang on to one. But even here, there's a risk. And the risk is, what if you made a mistake and sat in the wrong train? This is where law of attraction works. You will attract a guru and guru will attract you. So to a large extent, this is very natural. If you do not do anything, you let it be and make no effort to specifically do something, then you will eventually on your own get to the right place. Because as much as you are seeking a guru is desperately seeking you. And as long as you do not actively do anything silly, you will get to the guru, you will get to the God that you are destined to. And that is the best thing for you. And how you don't do anything? By making sure that you do not apply your mind. Guruji used to say this, and very famous quote from him is that leave your intelligence at the shoe stand. Your intelligence has no place here, has no work. This is another one liner, and it essentially defines your connect with Guru. If you continuously used your mind, your brain, you will have huge difficulty in connecting. You know why? Because your what is the essential characteristics of a mind? It teaches you how to differentiate, and differentiation of all kind. And I can give you some example. If we were all in jungle and nobody wore clothes, we will never crave for clothes of different kinds because everybody will be the same. If everyone lived on the treetops, then you could only fight for which tree is better or longer or taller or gives more shadow. The problem of a house comes only when the neighbor has a house and you compare and then say, he has it, I don't have it. And this comparison is the direct result of use of your intelligence. This is what I have, this is what he has, and how can I get what he has? And who can get me this? And then you look around and then you hear and then you talk to people. How can I get this? How did you get? And if somebody turned around and said, I got this because I came to this Guruji, and the day I came here, and third day, fourth day, fifth day, I had this, I did this, I ate langar, and then so on, and then it all happened to me. Your intelligence immediately ticks in, and you say, God, I should also do this because if it has worked for him, it will work for me. And so you start doing, and then you find out what did you do, what did you do, what did you do, and now you are not defining your connection with Guru yourself. You are defining your connection based on what others have done and achieved, because your focus is not Guru. Your focus is what others have which you don't have, and how can I get to that as quickly as possible. Guruji gave him this on fifth day, I'm here for 5 months. I haven't got anything. And you keep on looking around all the time, using your intelligence as to why and who got what they got. And as you continue to look around and do this, slowly, slowly, you evolve this process. You heard some satsang someday and said, I had Jal Prasad and then this happened to me. So everybody will say, by the way, how did you prepare Jal Prasad? So that person will tell you a long story of how Jal Prasad is to be prepared. And then you are stuck with a process. And then you hear somebody else do something else. And somebody says, hey, you do some different arti. Oh yes, okay, God, maybe this is how it should be done, and so on. But why it is happening? One thing I told you was the desire, this comparison. I remember one ad in the TV which says, why his shirt is whiter than mine? Which is the washing powder they are using? So you switch to the other washing powder because that washing powder gives you whiter shirt. And, and you don't just stop here. And then if you find that doing whatever you have done, this guru hasn't done it for you, then you hear somebody else who says, oh, by the way, go there. You have another guru, another God who can give you faster, quicker, better. It's almost like switching medicine. Paracetamol doesn't clear headache as quickly as crocin does. So, boss, where do I get crocin? And then you rush to the shop which gives you crocin. You have nothing to do with anything else. You just want what you want. This is what. The second thing that drives you from place to place is your fears. Desire of trying to have what you don't have and fear of losing what you have. They're basically, essentially the same thing, except that first one is a desire where you want to get hold of something which the neighbor has, and the fear is something which you have and you don't want to lose. And the fear could, you don't want to lose your life, you want to live forever. And you want to live forever in spite of knowing that in this whole universe, anybody who has been born has eventually died. The bravest, the biggest, the most powerful, the saints, the not so saints, normal human beings, everybody, if born, will die. But you don't want to. And so you want to find out ways how you can perpetually extend this life. And therefore, it is it is a fear. The fear of losing wealth, fear of falling sick, fear of losing relationships, fear of losing respect, fear of losing love, fear of losing, just losing. And this internal chatter continues all the time. And this result in what I call external chatter. This constantly going place to place like a honeybee, or even like the normal fly. It doesn't let you sit. It doesn't let you be at peace. In a lighter way, the day you get married, you realize your mistake. maybe that boy was better. Oh my God, I should have. But all I'm trying to say is you don't like what you have and you want to have what others have and you don't want to lose what you have. And this constantly drives you. And then you go external and now you are looking for a process which can get you what you get. And so you come to Guru. And what Guru tells you the day you arrive there, don't ask me. Just accept me as who I am, and that's all you need to do. Easily said. And this is one liner from Guru again, but easily said than done. Hey, I came here because I heard from so many people. This Guru gives you this Guru gives you that, and so got it so quickly, so and so got it so quickly, and I have come here, and now Guru tells me, don't ask me. Guru kolo mango na, Guru nu mano. And this is so difficult to accept. You were not here for that purpose in the first place. All of us, me included, came to Guru. We had a problem, and someone said Guru has a solution, and you go there, and then you can't tell him what your problem is. But in a way, it is okay because you don't understand Guru. Because you and which Guru is going to tell you this? Not any Guru, but the Guru who essentially is the Supreme God Himself, a Guru which doesn't need to be told, a Guru which is with you all the time, a Guru who will never leave you, a Guru who knows what is good for you, and Guru knows what is to be given to you at what time without allowing the karma to take its impact on you. That means if Guru gives you money, he gives it to you. It's not a loan. You don't have to repay and don't have to do anything in return for that money. If he blesses you with something, he does not just relocate this. If he cures you of a ailment, it is not that the same ailment will come to you 10 years later or next life. If he fixes it, he fixes it forever. And for that to happen, you must follow the basic rule. And the basic rule is keep quiet. Shut that chatter down. Don't run around. Don't find ways to get from Guru what you want. Just let it be and see what Guru does. Yesterday, I was hearing a satsang, and when I hear satsang from Sangat, whom not only I know what they say, but I also know the sincerity with which it is said and the honesty of that statement, I believe it immediately to be Guru's words. And yesterday, I heard one such sentence, and Guru said, if you hand over control of your horses to me, I will drive the chariot straight. And I think we, in a roundabout way, discussed this earlier. When Arjun was told by Krishna, you leave everything else and come to me. When he became the driver of his chariot in the war of Mahabharata, it was like God Himself taking control of the life of His disciple. You also have a chariot. You live in that chariot, and that chariot needs to be taken to the right place on the right path. And Guru says, give control to me. How difficult it can possibly be. How do you trust? What is it that is required in you to build that trust? What Guru should do for that trust to happen, that you let go. He simply say, Guru, this is my life. It is yours now. Go ahead, do exactly what you want to do. You remember that story from Mahabharata? Some of you may, and if you don't, let me just repeat it. In the Kaurav Sabha, the Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas, including Arjun, was brought, and the the opposite people, the prince Duryodhana wanted to disrobe her, insult her, and therefore ask his brother to remove her clothes in front of everyone. And she was a devotee of Krishna. She kept crying, kept calling out for Krishna for help. But Krishna was nowhere to be seen. Far away, seated at his home in Dwarka, his wife Rukmani asked him, your sister is calling out for you for help. She is alone there. Why don't you help her? He said, no, 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 she is not calling me. That's only superficial. And says, why? He said, look at her. She is holding on to her clothes herself because she knows that she can handle it. She is only calling me out as an additional optional resource. So resource number 2 is me, resource number 1 is she herself. And so he didn't go. The story goes like this. At the last turn of her sari, she left it, folded her hands, and said, Krishna, if this is precisely what you want, that your sister should be disrobed and insulted and humiliated, then have it your way. And it was at that instant that Krishna immediately came to her rescue. And what Guruji said, give the reins of your horse to me, and I will drive it straight. There is no dual control. You couldn't act like Draupadi and then say, Guru is not helping me. You let go and then see. But it is so difficult to let go because you can't trust. And that is where we are. How on earth do you build a trust to let go? So here is a little experiment that I suggest we do. Whereas Guru said, don't ask, but accept him as Guru and leave it to him. So these two thoughts are at two extreme ends. But the law of nature says that you cannot be at both ends at the same time. You cannot be manne wala and mangne wala at the same time. You can be either this or you can be that. So whereas you do not know how to become the one who follows Guru, but you can decide that I am not going to ask for anything. So you refuse to be the one who asks, and then see you naturally progress towards the one who believes in Guru. So what will happen? You first say, I'm not going to ask. I know I need this. I feel like asking. I know Guru can give it to me, but I'm not asking. And you resist the temptation of asking. This is crucial. Even though you don't have faith, but you refuse to ask because say, I will obey the instruction. Even though I don't know what will happen if I did, but I will obey this instruction. I'm not going to ask. With time, you will realize that even though you never asked, but life isn't really has fallen apart. Somehow, somewhere, you are hanging on to it and you feel little better. It wasn't so bad. The next time you say, I'm not asking, not because I don't know what will happen, but I'm not asking because I believe Guru will do what is going on in my mind. So you're little closer to accepting him, but you're still not asking, but comfortable. And then you move to the next stage because you'll suddenly realize life has improved. It is not exactly going to fall apart. And then you quietly turn around and say, okay, it has worked so far. I think I don't have to ask because he will give it to me anyway, because he knows what is going on in my mind. And then you move a little further incrementally and say, I don't need to ask because he knows what I want, and let whatever he wants to give me, let him give me. So at least you still want, but you have moved on from what you want to what Guru wants to give you. And eventually, to cut this short, you will say, once I have this Guru in my life, what else do I want? So gradually you will progress from the one who wants and asks to one who couldn't care as long as he is with Guru. And this progression will decide when and how you turn from मांगने वाला to मानने वाला. And as soon as you stop asking, the floodgates open, because now you are blessing ready. I did mention this satsang of a devotee of Guruji who was cured of his jaundice in 3 days flat, or 3 langars, or some such shortest possible duration. From being almost ready to kick the bucket, as they say, to being fully recovered and back to his operational military jobs took hardly any time. And people have waited for long. So he one day walked up to Maharaj and quietly inquired, Guruji, what happened? Why did you decide to bless me immediately on day one? And Guruji said, because I saw you and immediately realize you are ready for blessings. You are ready for blessing. So you call a person like that blessing ready. If you want to collect something in your, let's say, uh, vessel, then you have to make sure that that dabba or that box is open and it is clean. So what he realized was that he had surrendered at the first sight of seeing Maharaj, because he was at a point where he could be no more any given time. And he said, "Over to you, sir." Even if he did not realize it, he was ready to just let go. Do whatever you want. I'm yours. And the moment that happens, and you accept Guru, that instant, you are well on path to becoming a part of Guru's existence. You remember? You heard that line? Jo Hari Jape, so Hari Hoi. The one who worships God becomes God. And the one who becomes God doesn't need to ask. He is in a position to just will it to happen, and it happens. And that is why that Shabad, you remember? Let me say it as it is, and then I will translate the meaning. जो मांगे ठाकुर अपने से सोई सोई देवे. Whatever you ask from your guru, he will give it to you. But there is a word used in between, अपने से. जो मांगे ठाकुर अपने से. That means ठाकुर से नहीं. You are not asking from guru. You are asking from your guru. So accept him as your guru first, and then whatever you ask, that is yours. So the word manna comes here, though indirectly. जो मांगे ठाकुर अपने से, अपना ठाकुर, your own guru, not anybody else's guru. And the second line, more important, नानक दास मुख से जो बोले यहाँ वहां सच होवे. And then once you connect your guru, whatever you say, let alone anything else, happens. That means not only you get what you ask for, actually you can say whatever you want and that will happen. Which means by accepting your guru, by connecting with him, by surrendering to him, and by worshipping your guru, you are well on your path to be part of his existence, in a way becoming guru yourself. Because from being somebody who are seeking something, you turn into someone who can give it. A seeker can become giver by simply accepting your guru, and the right guru, not any guru, your guru. And this subtle difference makes all the changes in your life. So when guru says, मुझे मान लो, मांगो मत. So what he says is this, मुझे मान लो तो मांगने की जरूरत खत्म हो जाएगी. If you accept me, then you will not have any need to ask for anything. So what happens when this change happens? I now give you some examples. If you say, Guruji, please be with me, you are asking. You are asking Guru to be with you. But then if you say, Guruji, you are with me, now you are not asking, you are telling him that you are with me. If you say, Guruji, don't leave me, you are asking. But if you say, Guruji, I know you will not leave me, you have left him with no choice. Because Guru knows that you have closed all options. So all that I have said today from the beginning are those one-liners that Maharaj told his Sangat, and then the elaborations of that as to what essentially it means. It's very difficult to know who is amongst the Sangat, and that includes all of us. Who is the asking type and who is the believing type. But you know what? One look and you will know. Because the chatter stops. The people who spend their time perfecting their processes by which Guru is bound to give him whatever he wants is the asking type. And the guy who has given up all processes, who couldn't care, he's with Guru anyway. You would hardly see him doing anything. This type of people won't chant much. They won't be loud in their prayers. They won't be on WhatsApp sending 1,000 messages a day. They just won't do anything. They don't need to because there is nothing to do. And then there is a lot of us who are in between, who are progressing from one end to the right end. So while you are at it and you have accepted your Guru, and in the beginning, when Krishna said, those who worship me, they come to me. So the word worship is still here. So what do you do? And then was asked by Arjun, uh, God, what is the best way to connecting with you and see and getting your blessings? So, so he basically said, and I'll translate it in our context. He says, those who do rituals and who spend their time trying to understand the ways of the God, and those who indulge in processes, they sometimes get to me. But those who go about doing their routine work, but remembering me all the time, it's easy for them. They get to me without any difficulty. And what Guruji said, exactly the same thing. Do your job. And what he said in exact words, let me translate in English, is this, that a husband takes care of his wife, wife takes care of the husband, and they together take care of their children. And apart from taking care, they also respect and love, then for me it is so easy to be there. A loving family, a caring family, and a responsible family. The best form of seva is to take care of your household and your social responsibilities. Guruji loved people who were disciplined, and that was one reason why Guruji was so fond of military men like me. And he never hid this, and every time he got an opportunity, he let it be known. I remember on one occasion when I went to Guruji and mentioned to him about my daughter's admission. Then he said, let me first say in Hindi, he says, फौजियों का काम तो मैं ऐसे ही कर देता हूँ commander. And translate to English, he said, the, I do military men's work, or I fulfill their requirements just like that, because they're disciplined, and he knew of their suffering, what they went through. He was aware that they had to leave their families far, far away for such a long time to live in harshest possible environment, and therefore Guru had special bond with military men, and therein lies this connect between suffering and Guru. I think I would like to stop here today, and I will let you reflect on it, and we'll continue tomorrow further on this subject. I know this has been a little heavy, but with brilliant minds like you, I have no doubt that not only you will understand, but I'll have some questions also. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Jai Guruji.